Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're soaring into the remarkable story of United States fighter aircraft.
It's quite a history.
It really is. Our source material for this deep dive, its comprehensive look, covers nearly a century of U.S. fighter development. We're talking Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, even the Coast Guard.
A huge scope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our mission, well, what we want to do is untangle this incredible history. We want to reveal the surprising evolution of these flying machines, the sheer ingenuity behind them, and, the distinct military needs that really forged them. We're going to explore what makes a fighter truly revolutionary and maybe why some ambitious designs, well, they just didn't quite take off.
And as we go through this, you'll really see how the very definition of a fighter aircraft has transformed dramatically. We start with those early biplane pursuit aircraft, basically agile scouts built to chase things.
Right.
And we end up all the way at today's stealth multi-role fighters, capable of, well, almost everything. Air dominance, ground strikes.
Yeah, the whole package.
We'll look at how their designations changed, how their purpose just kept evolving over the decades.
So let's start right at the beginning. What were those very first planes, the foundations for the Army and Air Force, even before the big conflicts?
Well, in those really early days, you see things like the VE-8 and VE-9. These were from Lewis and Vought Corporation for the Army.
Okay.
But they were made in tiny numbers. I mean, just a handful of VE-8s, maybe a few dozen VE-9s.
Wow, that's small.
Yeah, it really shows you that nascent stage. Military aviation was just starting. They were figuring out what these things could even do beyond just observation.
Literally learning as they flew.
Exactly.
And the names were different back then, too, right? This P designation pops up.
Absolutely. For the Army Air Service, the Corps, later the Forces, these early planes had a P for pursuit.
Pursuit makes sense.
It really underscored their main job, chase and intercept other aircraft.
Mhm.
This was way before the unified F for fighter that we use now. That early focus on pursuit just shows how narrow the perceived role was at first.
So, as they were figuring it all out, what were some of the real game changers early on, the designs that pushed things forward?
Okay, a really significant one was the VE-7 Bluebird.
Ah, the Bluebird.
Not just the first U.S. Navy fighter, but it made history in 1922. First plane to take off from an American aircraft carrier.
Think about that. Launching off a ship back then.
The audacity of it. A huge step for naval aviation.
Definitely.
Then for the Army, you get the Boeing P-26 Peashooter.
Peashooter, great name.
And it was a big deal. First American all-metal fighter and the first monoplane pursuit aircraft to enter squadron service with the Army Air Corps.
So, moving away from the biplanes.
A fundamental shift. From those kind of handcrafted biplanes to more robust, mass-producible, higher-performance monoplanes, crucial as things heated up globally.
But not every experiment worked out.
Oh, definitely not. You had designs like the Curtiss XP-31 Swift. It had innovations, sure, but it just couldn't really offer a big advantage over the P-26.
So if it was a clear leap forward,
It didn't make the cut. Survival of the fittest, even in aircraft design.
and then, boom, World War II. Suddenly, fighter aircraft weren't just experimental, they were absolutely vital. The pace must have just exploded.
It was an incredibly intense proving ground. You see iconic designs emerge. The P-38 Lightning.
The twin booms.
Yeah.
Instantly recognizable.
Yeah, and versatile too. Fighter, recon, even light bombing. Then there's a surprising one, the P-39 Airacobra.
Okay, what's the story there?
Well, less famous in U.S. hands, but the Soviets loved it, used it extensively. And Soviet pilots flying the P-39 actually got the highest number of kills attributed to any U.S. fighter type flown by any Air Force in any conflict.
Seriously. That's amazing. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Shows how effectiveness can depend on tactics in the specific front. Then you had the P-40 Warhawk, tough, reliable, a development of the earlier P-36 Hawk.
A real workhorse.
And the P-47 Thunderbolt, the Jug, just massive.
Huge plane.
Largest single-engine fighter built and flown by anyone in WWII. Had this enormous water-cooled engine, gave it incredible power, could take a beating.
And you can't talk WWII without mentioning the Mustang.
Absolutely not. The P-51 Mustang, over 15,000 built. Probably the most recognized Allied fighter. Its long range was the real game changer, especially for escorting bombers deep into enemy territory.
So the Army and Air Force were clearly pushing hard. But the Navy, operating off carriers, is a whole different ballgame, right? Unique challenges.
Completely different set of problems. The Navy's innovation path was shaped by that unforgiving carrier deck environment.
Like what?
We'll take the Grumman FF first carrier plane with retractable landing gear.
Ah, For better aerodynamics?
Exactly. Big improvement for speed. It kind of set the standard for Grumman's tough, reliable carrier planes.
Grumman Iron Works.
You got it. And then there's a really wild one, the F-9C Sparrowhawk.
Sparrowhawk. What was that?
A parasite fighter.
A what now?
Yeah, designed to be carried by the big Navy airships, the Akron and Macon, launched and recovered from a trapeze hook underneath.
That sounds like something out of science fiction.
Yeah.
Airborne aircraft carriers.
It's incredible. A fascinating glimpse into just how experimental they were willing to get.
Okay, back to more conventional carrier planes.
Right. Closer to WWII, you get the F-2A Buffalo, Navy's first monoplane fighter.
Good step.
Looked like it, but turned out to be unstable, overweight, pretty much obsolete against the Japanese Zero when the U.S. entered the war.
Oh, not good.
Which meant they had to rely heavily on the F-4F Wildcat early on.
The Wildcat.
Slower than the Zero, yeah, but tough. Robust construction, good pilot tactics. It held the line in the Pacific in those crucial early months for the Navy and Marines.
What about the Corsair? The one with the bent wings.
The F-4U Corsair, iconic plane. But it actually had real problems landing on carriers initially. Those gull wings made visibility tricky, landing gear issues.
So it wasn't the main carrier fighter at first.
No, it got sort of eclipsed, at least initially on carriers, by the F-6F Hellcat.
The Hellcat.
Grumman again. Specifically designed to beat the Zero. It wasn't necessarily more agile, but it could outclimb, outdive, and take more punishment. Became the dominant Navy fighter in the second half of the Pacific War.
So WWII ends, the piston engines reach their peak, and then comes the jet age. A massive leap. How fast did that transition happen for the U.S.?
Breathtakingly fast, really. The first American jet produced was the Bell P-59 Era Comet.
Okay.
More of a proof of concept, wasn't really combat ready, but right behind it came the Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star, later called the F-80.
And that one was successful.
Oh yeah, America's first successful turbojet fighter. A fundamental shift away from props, changed everything, aerodynamics, speed, training.
So it wasn't just about new engines, but new roles started emerging too.
Exactly. Even as jets were coming online, you had the F-82 or P-82 twin Mustang.
Two Mustangs bolted together.
Basically. And it holds the distinction of being the last American piston engine fighter ordered into production by the USAF, kind of the final hurrah for the propeller era.
Interesting timing.
And this era also saw a real need for specialized night fighters. The P-61 Black Widow was huge first American planes specifically designed for night interception.
The dedicated role.
Yeah. And its successor, the F-7F Tiger Cat, actually saw some night fighter action in the Korean War.
Speaking of Korea, that war must have been a major catalyst for jet development. A real trial by fire.
Absolutely transformed things. You see the F-84 Thunderjet, for example. First USAF jet fighter capable of carrying a tactical atomic weapon.
Wow, a whole new strategic dimension for fighters.
That's a selling one. And then the F-86 Sabre became the icon of the Korean War air battles.
Against the MiGs.
Exactly, against the MiG-15. It proved the dominance of swept-wing jet designs. This intense competition spurred on what we call the Century Series fighters.
The F-100s.
Right. F-100 Super Sabre, F-101 Voodoo, F-102 Delta Dagger, F-104 Starfighter, F-105 Thunder Chief, F-106 Delta Dart.
Quite a lineup. What was their main focus?
Mostly pushing supersonic speed, primarily as interceptors to stop bombers. The F-102 Delta Dagger, for instance, was a big step, world's first supersonic all-weather jet interceptor, USAF's first operational Delta Wing 2.
That triangular wing shape.
Yeah, great for high speed, straight line flight, like rushing out to meet bombers. Maybe not as great for dogfighting, but perfect for interception.
And alongside these mainstream developments, were there more of those wild experiments?
Oh, absolutely. The ambition didn't stop. You had the XF-85 Goblin.
Another parasite fighter.
Yep. This time designed to be launched from bombers, like an airborne aircraft carrier defense system. Wild idea.
Pretty incredible.
And then there was the XF-84H Thunder Screech.
Thunder Screech sounds loud.
Infamously loud. It had a supersonic propeller. Apparently, the noise could make ground crews physically ill from miles away.
Okay, maybe not the most practical design.
Shows the willingness to try anything, though, even if it resulted in, well, a Thunder Screech.
So how was the Navy handling this jet transition? Still dealing with carriers, limited space, hard landings?
Still managing those unique constraints, yeah. The FH Phantom, the first Phantom, was the first pure jet to land on a U.S. carrier back in '46, a huge milestone.
Getting jets onto ships.
Then Grumman's F-9 Panther became the Navy's first operational jet fighter, a real workhorse in Korea.
Reliable Grumman again.
But they also tried radical things. The F-7U Cutlass.
Cutlass.
First tailless production fighter and the U.S. Navy's first jet with swept wings and afterburners. Very advanced.
Sounds impressive.
It was, technologically. But that radical tailless design made it incredibly difficult to fly, especially landing on a carrier, nicknamed the Gutless Cutlass by some pilots.
Ouch. Shows the line between innovation and practicality.
Definitely. Then the F-3 Demon, maybe not super famous itself, but it provided the design basis for the next Phantom, the legendary F-4.
Connecting the dots.
But not everything worked. The F-7 Sea Dart was this ambitious seaplane fighter project.
It's a jet fighter that lands on water.
Yeah. Cool idea, but it had tons of problems, a tragic accident happened, and it was eventually canceled. Some ideas just don't pan out.
Moving into the Vietnam era and beyond, it feels like fighters started becoming much more versatile, not just air-to-air specialists.
That's a key shift, the rise of the true multi-role aircraft. The F-4 Phantom II is a prime example, used extensively in Vietnam by the Air Force, Navy, Marines.
The one based on the F-3 Demon.
That's the one. Interestingly, it was initially designed without an internal cannon, typical for interceptors then focusing on missiles.
Right, missile-age thinking.
But in Vietnam, dogfights happened. They realized they needed a gun. So later models got one built in, showed its adaptability. And this plane was incredible. Set 15 world records for speed and altitude. Just a powerhouse. It was even called the F-110 Spectre by the Air Force initially before the naming got standardized.
F-110, okay.
Then you have the F-111 Aardvark, maybe less of a pure fighter, but incredibly versatile.
Yeah.
Attack, bomber, recon, electronic warfare. It did a lot.
A real multi-tool.
And then a huge leap. The F-117 Nighthawk.
Stealth?
The first operational stealth aircraft, developed in secret, a black project. Its existence was a shock when revealed.
Changed everything.
Absolutely. Those strange angles weren't for looks. They were to scatter radar signals. Gave the U.S. a massive advantage. Revolutionary stuff.
So as we get more modern, the focus sharpens again on air superiority,
Right.
but now with all these advanced technologies baked in.
Exactly. The drive for air dominance never stopped. It just got more sophisticated. The F-14 Tomcat for the Navy,
Top Gun.
the very same. Developed for the Navy's VFX program after the naval version of the F-111 didn't work out. Iconic interceptor, air superiority fighter, those variable sweep wings.
Very cool design.
Then the F-15 Eagle for the Air Force, built specifically to counter the Soviet MiG-25 Foxbat.
And incredibly successful, right?
Hugely successful, often cited as one of the best fighter projects ever, amazing combat record. And it's kept evolving. The F-15E Strike Eagle is a potent ground attack platform, and now the F-15EX Eagle II is updating the fleet.
Still relevant after all these years.
Testament to the design.
Yeah.
And you have the F-16 Fighting Falcon, started as a lightweight, agile air superiority day fighter.
The electric jet.
Right. But it successfully evolved into an incredibly capable, all-weather, multi-role aircraft used by air forces all over the world.
A huge export success.
Massive. And for the Navy, the F-A-18 Hornet and its bigger successor, the F-A-18EF Super Hornet, became their multi-role workhorses. The F-A designation really highlights that fighter attack capability.
That brings us pretty close to today, the 5th generation fighters. What drove that leap? Stealth? Computing power?
All of the above and more. The Advanced Tactical Fighter, the ATF program back in the 80s, was the starting point.
That was the YF-22 versus YF-23 competition.
Exactly. A competition to define the next generation. Pushing stealth, supercruise, supersonic flight without needing afterburners, integrated avionics.
And the YF-22 won.
Leading to the F-22 Raptor. Primarily an air superiority fighter, designed to be unmatched in the air, but also has ground attack, electronic warfare, signals intelligence capabilities. A beast.
But incredibly expensive and not exported.
Correct on both counts. Then came the Joint Strike Fighter, or JSF program, even more ambitious. Aimed to create a common, multi-role stealth fighter for the Air Force, Marines, and Navy, trying to get economies of scale, interoperability, a huge engineering challenge.
The X-32 versus the X-35.
Right. Boeing's X-32 and Lockheed Martin's X-35. The X-35 won out, and that developed into the F-35 Lightning II.
Which we see flying today.
In 3 main flavors. The F-35A for the Air Force, conventional takeoff landing, the F-35B for the Marines, short takeoff vertical landing, or STOVL.
The jump jet version.
Yep. And the F-35C for the Navy, with bigger wings and stronger landing gear for carrier ops. A true multi-role family.
And looking even further ahead.
We're already looking towards the next generation. There's the FAXX program, part of the wider Next Generation Air Dominance, or NGAD, initiative.
NGAD.
Still very much under development. And it's probably not just about one single aircraft, but a system of systems, maybe manned fighters working with unmanned drones, advanced networks. The definition keeps evolving.
It's fascinating, too, how this isn't just an American story in isolation. U.S. designs influence the world, but we're also influenced by it.
You're absolutely right. It's never been in a vacuum. Early on, the U.S. used foreign designs, French R-11, British SE.5, the Camel in WWI. They weren't afraid to adopt what worked.
Pragmatic.
And later, more secretly, the USAF even evaluated captured Soviet and Chinese jets, giving them designations like YF-110 or YF-113 to understand the competition.
Constant learning.
But the biggest global impact is probably U.S. designs being exported or license-built everywhere. Think about the F-86K Sabre, the F-104 Starfighter, the F-4 Phantom, and more recently the F-15, F-16.
They're flown all over the world.
Exactly. It shows the incredible reach and influence of U.S. aviation tech shaping air forces globally.
What an incredible journey we've taken, all the way from those early fragile biplanes like the VE-8 and VE-7 right up to the F-35 Lightning II and looking towards whatever the FAXX brings.
Yeah.
It's so clear how innovation, the changing face of warfare, and just the specific needs of each service branch have constantly pushed and reshaped these machines. We've seen amazing successes and some really fascinating dead-ends, too.
And reflecting on it all, you really see that constant drive to push the limits. Whether it's for speed or stealth or doing multiple jobs at once, or even those wild ideas like the parasite fighters or the seaplane jet that, didn't quite make it past the experimental stage.
Right.
Every single aircraft, successful or not, really adds another layer to how we understand aerial combat, engineering, and that relentless pursuit of air superiority.
So what does it all mean for the future? We see NGAD, FAXX. The focus is clearly on adaptability, new frontiers. We've gone from pistons to jets, from purely manned planes to ideas involving autonomy and stealth. It really raises a big question, one for you, the listener, to think about. In a world where technology just keeps accelerating, what will the next century of fighter aircraft even look like? And how might that very definition of what a fighter is continue to transform?